Hello, fellow poker enthusiasts. I'm Joel Smith, your host for The Final Table, the show made by and for weekend warriors, home game heroes, and low-stakes grinders chasing that next big score without quitting their day jobs. Whether you're crushing the 1-2 live games, battling micro-stakes online, or just trying not to tilt after a bad beat in your buddy's home game, this is your spot. We keep it real. No pro-level GTO solver talk, just practical tips, funny stories, and inspiration from players like you who turned a small buy-in into something memorable. Let's get this started. Welcome, everyone, and please welcome our guest, Bill Madison. He's a local grinder from the state of Minnesota, here to share stories of his personal poker journey. Thanks for joining us, and how are you doing, Bill?
I'm doing well, Joel. Thanks for inviting me on.
Happy to have you. Thanks. Well, let's get this started by having you tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Sure. Currently, I reside in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. Originally from Wilmer, Minnesota. Yes, I've been in Fergus now for the past, well, as long as I've been playing cards. How's that?
That's
24, 25 years.
Nice. How about family? You have family that plays cards?
I do not. None of my family plays, actually. I do have a wife. She's started playing recently. She took down her first tournament at Wapaton, first FPN tournament at Wapaton on Monday.
Nice.
2 weeks ago, or a week ago. Yeah.
That's got to be fun that you both have that to share, huh?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And what do you do for a living? Who are you outside of poker?
Okay. Yeah, I work for Sodexo out of the University of Minnesota, Morris. We do all their food service there. I've been there for the last year, almost 2 years now.
And how'd you first get introduced to playing cards in general? Maybe not just poker, but just in general.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, my folks, as far as I can remember back, have always played not poker, but cards in general, whether it's whist or rook or whatever, with the aunts and uncles and all that, grandma and grandpas. It's always been fun when they used to get together back in the day and do that. So kind of, playing games has always kind of been a thing, a hobby, if you will. So
how did you get introduced to Texas Hold'em?
I was working at the bakery at the time, and a friend of mine, Zach Ridout, had said, "Hey, have you ever played poker before?" I said, "Nope, never have." And he's like, "Well, why don't we take a limo and head up to Monoman? They have a poker room there." And I was like, all right, why not? So a group of 5 or 6 of us, 7, I don't remember, whatever it was, got into the limo, headed up there. We sat down and started playing. I lost $300 that night, and I've been hooked ever since.
Great first story.
Yeah. Yep. That's
Fun
where it
losing
started.
money.
Yep.
I see. And where do you play nowadays?
Well, now it's usually just FPN. I play and host in Wapaton at the Eagles, and then I also play in Morris at the Eagles there. And then, of course, your guys' home games whenever you have them. They're always fun.
Do you play other games too, or just Texas Hold'em?
701. We play at 701 Dakota Poker Tour. All those. Otherwise, there's not a lot for mixed games around the area. I mean, we can drive to Dakota Sioux Casino. They have a few 3 tables, I believe, and they have a mixed game every once in a while. But Pot Limit Omaha online too, I guess. But
what's your favorite mixed game?
Probably Pot Limit Omaha. I like Omaha. So
what about that game do you like? I'm trying to understand why I don't enjoy playing it.
Why you don't enjoy playing it? I don't know, because I mean, I think there's a lot more thinking involved. You got to. There's a lot more just a strategy involved in that one than there is in Hold'em. A lot of people will say there's not, but I really think there is. I don't know. It's a fun game. I just think it's a fun game. So,
how does the strategy differ between that and Texas Hold'em, like starting hand wise? Well, what's a good starting hand? I don't even know what a good starting hand is. Maybe that's why I don't like it.
Aces and kings suited, have the ace king suited and ace king suited. That's a good starting hand, unless you're playing low. Then of course you want the aces with a probably a 2-3 suited together. That's a good starting hand and for that. So, but I mean, I'm probably wrong. I don't know. I'm not an expert in Omaha by any means. I just enjoy playing it. So,
Okay. Have you had any big scores in it?
um, just online here recently, I took down it was a smaller tournament. It was just a $11 buy-in, but took down that for $180. So,
How many players
but
do they get in something like that?
usually right around that 100 mark. So,
Okay. Tell us about FPN. So you said you play 2 locations. Is that pretty regularly?
yep.
Well, the one you host, right? Or do you host
Yeah.
both?
Yep. The one I host, that's every week over in Wapaton. And then I play in Morris, Minnesota, and that one is pretty much every week because I work till late during that time. So then I just go over there and play. It's fun, you know. There's a little, I don't know. As you play with people, you get to learn how they play. You know, it's kind of easy to pick up tells on people that you play with all the time, and you know if they're going to bet or if they're going to fold or you know.
And how long have you been playing FPN games?
FPN since uh, gosh, when did they start? Was it 01?
Um,
2000?
well,
I
it's
mean,
25 year. Is it 20 years or 25-year anniversary this year? I can't
I
recall.
can't remember either. But I've been playing. I first started off playing it here in Fergus at the Z103
Oh
Bar and
yeah, I
Grill.
remember
That
that.
was the first time I played. FPN anyways. So met a lot of great people, a lot of good friends. It's pretty fun. I remember when they did still hold state and regional tournaments.
Hmm.
Ended up going to Monoman for one of their state tournaments. And I sat next to a guy. He was wearing an FPN hat or whatever. No idea who he was. And I hit the nut flush against him, and he bet, and I jammed. And he looked at me and he said, "Joel Smith told me about you. I fold."
Nice.
I didn't even know who it was. It was Jake. It was Jake
Oh,
Stringfellow. So
okay.
it was kind of weird, but I've had that happen a few times. Matt Wolf, we were out in Vegas. We were staying at the Flamingo, and I went to go play a tournament, and I drew my seat, and it ended up being right next to Matt. We had never spoken to each other at this point in time, but we were both wearing. I don't remember if you remember Mike Lovelace's game.
Hmm.
We were both wearing River Rat poker hats,
Mm,
and we ended up
yeah.
sitting right next to each other. They were giving us a lot of shit, but
Yeah, I bet
but it
collusion,
was
right?
the first time I've ever met Matt, so
Hmm.
that's that was
All
fun.
the way out, all the way out in Vegas, and you sit right next to each other.
Yeah, he ends up sitting next to me at the Flamingo playing a poker tournament.
Well, I apologize for telling everybody about how you play. That maybe hasn't been beneficial to you.
That's okay. I always thought it was funny.
uh, so you've had some pretty good success in FPN, right? I mean, you've qualified for multiple state tournaments,
Yeah,
multiple national tournaments.
yeah. On, back when we had regional and state, it was a lot harder to qualify for nationals, that's for sure. So,
Hmm.
but since they changed that up, now it's been a lot easier. So, which is kind of fun because I like going to Vegas. So,
Yeah. Do you remember how many state tournaments you've made it through? Do you have some
um,
trophies?
I actually only have one trophy. So,
Oh, really? I'm
yeah,
surprised. Huh.
yeah, it's like I said, it's tough because the state tournament is at the time in Minnesota was just about as big as our national tournaments are out in Vegas now. So I mean, if you think about it on that scale, it's we easily have 300 to 350 players at a state tournament in Minnesota. So
What's been your fondest memory of a state tournament?
okay, this this one goes back. I don't remember which one. It was one that I made it through. The only one I think I made it through. I was big blind. We had 3 tables left, and we were on the bubble. Yeah, 3 tables left. We were on the bubble. And ended up getting 3 players. Ended up one on each table, all in.
Hmm.
And so I blinds were at 5 and 10,000 at the time. The guy pushed for 20. I was sitting on about 100,000 or more. So of course I'm calling. It doesn't matter what my cards are. Uh, and I called his all in. I think he had aces.
Hmm.
He was playing really tight. I had 2-3, and I ended up rivering a straight against him.
Oh.
But another player went out, Bruce Usselman. I don't
Mm.
know if you remember. He went out and he had less chips than
Oh
the gentleman
boy.
that I took out. So he ended up making it while Bruce did not. So
Okay.
that
That's a
was a
crazy one.
that's a fun one. So
How about at nationals? You must have some stories from nationals too, don't you?
well, a few, yeah. Like when I knocked out this guy named Joel Smith.
I don't remember that one.
Oh yeah, that was a bad one. I was getting kind of short, and you jammed. I was big blind, and I just couldn't stay. I could not call. I was just so short. I might not have taken you out. I don't think, but I ended up winning that hand. You doubled me up. That was very nice of you.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
helper.
yeah. Uh, the very first nationals I played, though, I remember I made the final table at that one. Um, but this is when we were at the Gold Nugget, and I believe we were actually playing in their poker room, not in the ballroom.
Yeah.
So yeah, I made the final table with Marilyn. Um, you remember Marilyn, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah, and she actually ended up taking me out. I had pocket
Mm.
kings. I jammed. She had pocket nines, and the chip leader at the table had aces. So
Oh wow.
it wasn't a good position for me to be in. But Marilyn hit a nine, or she hit a set and ended up winning. So
Hmm.
knocking me out. But that's all
Yeah,
right
she
though.
made it.
It was fun.
She made it pretty far. Did she, I don't think she won it that year though, did she? She made it quite a
No,
ways though.
no, because
Yeah.
she was the next one out. So
Oh, was she? Okay.
yeah, yep. So, but still a good run for her. Good run for me as well. So
So, kind of staying on the same line of thinking of FPN, let's talk about your most recent success you've had. I've got notes written down here. There was the Swim with the Sharks monthly online qualifier,
yeah,
271 players, and you took that baby down.
I did. That was all skill. I tell you what.
No, no luck, huh?
Yeah, none. No, that was just horrible. It didn't matter on that day. It didn't matter what I had. Everything was turning to gold. I
Mm.
just kept hitting and hitting and hitting. I mean, at the one point, I just played every hand because I was hitting so much. You know, it just didn't. Like I said, it didn't matter what I had. It was turning to gold for me. So, uh, kind of
Did the
how it
heads
works sometimes.
did the heads up battle last very long, or did you just crush that too?
Pretty much. Well, I mean, he was at like 1.3, I was at 1.7, and then we kind of, I never lost a chip lead, but he'd get up to 1.4, 1.5, and then he'd go back down again because we'd run into a hand where I'd take, I mean, he was playing pretty tight, and I was pretty wide. So,
Hmm.
you know, and then we got to a hand. I had pushed all in like 3 hands in a row. And then on the fourth hand, he finally called with king seven. I had ace seven,
Mm.
and he did not improve, and ace held up.
Fun.
So that was all right.
Yeah.
So
So you won $500 travel voucher and a seat at nationals, right?
yeah, yep. So I get to start. I mean, I qualified. So I took league champ at Morris on the first 3 months,
Hmm.
and then I placed second in the first 3 months over in Wapaton, and then this last three I placed second in Morris again.
Hmm.
I don't think I didn't place it all, and so I'm thinking I start with 50. I'm not sure though. So,
Okay. At least
but
max
I don't.
stacked anyway, it sounds like, huh?
Yeah,
At,
at least
you at least have
40.
max. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how that works. So,
Is your wife planning on I'm assuming you're planning on going out there. Obviously
of
you
course,
love Vegas. Yeah, your
yeah,
wife planning on going as well?
of course, yep.
Great.
She's trying really hard to qualify.
Yeah, good.
Yep. So
Uh and you guys, I mean, you said you love Vegas. So what is it about Vegas you love? Tell
I
us.
honestly, I was trying to figure that out a few days ago. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just enjoy being out there. So
Mhm.
it's fun. I guess maybe that's why. because I go out there and I have fun. You get to forget about everything else for a few days.
And you guys are kind of foodies too, I think. That's what I would
Oh
call you.
yeah,
You
yeah,
enjoy
yeah,
going out to restaurants?
yeah.
You
We
got some
do. Yeah.
favorites?
Yeah. Well, this last trip we went out there in January. We ended up hitting up Barry's Steakhouse in the Circa.
Hmm.
Really good. It was a good meal. We hit Golden Steer, which is the oldest steakhouse in Vegas. When did we do that? Last year. So a year from January ago. That food was really good there, and the service was outstanding. Like
Hmm.
it was crazy. They had like 7 waiters in the room that we were in, and they were constantly, you didn't run out of a drink, you didn't run out of anything. If you needed something, they were there. It was
Hmm.
pretty awesome.
And what does a bill look like at the Golden Steer?
Uh,
Maybe we don't want
it,
to talk about it.
yeah, it was probably more than the hotel rooms.
Okay.
So yeah,
But
it's
worth
not
the
cheap, but it's
experience, right?
fun. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't get to do it all the time, so it's fun to do once in a while.
Any other hot spots that you've been to that you'd recommend?
Yeah, we went to Hell's Kitchen for her birthday. That was 3, 4 years ago. That was 5 years ago. Holy cow! 5, almost 6.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was around 2020. So that was a fun one.
Do you guys take in shows out there too, or not so much?
No, not very often. I
Okay.
don't think we've ever gone to a show since we. No. Yeah, we went to like Madame Tussauds. You know,
Hmm.
uh, this last January, both of our two oldest are 21, so they wanted to go, so we brought them with. So they got to have some fun out there. We went to Madame Tussauds. My daughter wanted to see that, and then we went to the Friends Experience. And was that in MGM or was that? I think it was at the MGM. That was a lot of fun though. Getting
What's
to
that all about?
oh, they like have different um scenes from the show set up around. They have
Okay.
the couch with the fountain when you first walk in from the beginning opening. They have the cheesecake where it's on the floor, between the two apartments or whatever. Just basically a story of the history of Friends and stuff like that. They have the couch on the stairwell. You know, they have
Pivot.
half the cab sitting there, so you can be like, yeah. They also have the Vegas wedding scene there, so you can recreate that. So yeah, it's fun. It was fun.
Sounds like a place my wife would probably like to check out next time we go.
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, I don't even think it was that much. Was it like 40 or? Yeah, I don't remember, but I think it was only like $40 a ticket, so
Hmm.
something cheap to do.
Yeah, I'll have to keep that in mind. Have you been to the Sphere or not made it there yet?
No, haven't been there yet.
That's
You
on
know,
my list.
yeah, yeah, tickets are not cheap for that, so you know, hard to justify 200 and some dollars for a 80-year-old movie to go see Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. We'd probably rather go out and eat for that
What's
price.
that?
We'd probably rather go out and eat for that price.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Especially since that's just one ticket.
Hmm.
I'm sure there's cheaper ones, but
When you guys are in Vegas, do you play poker elsewhere or are you pretty much hanging out with just the FPN series
no.
of tournaments?
Well, ye so a few years ago, I went out solo. This was before my wife Amanda, and then I did. I mean, I traveled to every poker room. I only played the two big ones, the two national tournaments, and that was it.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I just kind of traveled from one room to the other, playing different games. So,
Did you find a favorite?
not really. Um, Caesar's Palace was nice. I don't
Hmm.
know if they still have a poker room or not. This was all pre-COVID, so a lot of them, since COVID, a lot of them have shut down. But you know, uh, the Flamingo had a nice room. They had cheap tournaments, cheap buy-ins. Caesar's Palace was a nice room, had more expensive buy-ins, and then the Gold Nugget was always a nice place to play. So
Hmm. Have you played any World Series of Poker events?
I have not, but we are going to. We're planning to go out there to play the Gladiator in July, so
Okay.
that'll be my first. I've been out there for like to witness the World Series. I've just never. I don't know, never had the bankroll to play it per se,
Hmm.
and now that they have some of these cheaper buy-in tournaments, I think now's the time to try to get out there and play one. So,
Yeah, I'm excited to hear you're going out there. We'll have to connect up.
oh yeah, definitely.
Be cheering you on from the side. Hopefully, I'm in the tournament. Maybe
Hopefully
we'll be
you're
at
still in the tournament.
We're probably going to be at the same table.
Yeah, probably.
It's the way it
There,
goes, right?
there's 3,000 people in this tournament, and you and I are sitting numbers 5 and 6.
Yeah, we'll have to have matching shirts or something.
Yeah.
It'd be just our
Yep.
luck, right?
Yep. I remember not too long ago, I flew out there with Ben Oliver. He plays in Wapaton. We both qualified. So I'm like, well, let's, we can split a room and, you know, split the cost of the trip, basically. And he was all for it. So we flew out there, stayed. I don't remember where we stayed. It was fun, but we signed up for the national tournament. Tom Brimhall was also out there, and he drew seat 5. I drew seat 7, and Ben ended up getting seat 6. So we
Oh,
sat at the
wow.
same table, 5, 6, and 7. Out of a 300-person tournament, we were all right next to one another. So that sucked.
Well, at least you kind of know how they play, but yeah, you just kind of want to play with new people.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants to play with people you've played with for years, when you go to something like that.
Yeah,
Mainly because you're friends and you don't want to take each other out. So
right. Not till the final table, anyway.
exactly.
When you went out there and just kind of took in the World Series of Poker experience, what stood out to you in that trip?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess the big thing. This is when they had the last, one of the last years at the Rio,
Mm-hmm.
and so we were looking to book rooms, and we ended up getting 5 free nights at the Rio, and it was during the World Series, so I was pretty excited about that. So we flew out there, and they were going to charge us a resort fee, and I started digging cash out of my wallet to pay the resort fee. And they were like, "Don't worry about it, we'll get it."
Oh,
So that was
nice.
awesome. So $300 worth of resort fees we got for nothing. A few, I can't even remember. A couple years ago, we were out there for it and ran into Mike the Mouth. He was sitting on his little scooter thing. Shook his hand, talked to him for just a brief little bit. Didn't want to bother him too much. I don't know what he was doing, but don't want to take him away from his game or nothing. So
Yeah.
talked to him. That was kind of neat. Trying to think. I really didn't. I mean, I ran into, you see standing up from the ropes, you get to see a lot of them. Daniel Negreanu was there. One year, Patrick Antonius was there, and we got a picture with him. So that was kind of fun. Ran into Ethan Yao, who is Rampage Poker. Talked to him, shook his hand, talked to him for, like I said, it was just a brief, "Hey, how's it going? Congratulations. This is awesome. I've been following you forever. Good luck." Thanks.
Yeah.
And he's, so it's fun. It's, get to people watch and, fanboy over all these guys.
Yeah, I'm that way too, and just the sheer size of the rooms and all the tables and all the action going on. It's just, to me, it's amazing. Honestly,
It is. It's crazy when you walk in there and there's, hundreds of tables. It's so much fun. So,
lots of chip shuffling.
yeah, that's all you hear.
So, how would you characterize yourself as a poker player? What kind of a player are you? Aggressive,
Extremely tight.
Yeah.
Very, very tight. Yeah, super tight. I am aces only.
I've seen you play kings.
Maybe kings. I might
And
open
jacks.
up the
I
kings.
saw you play jacks today too.
Oh yeah,
I was
they got
really
busted.
surprised at that.
Yeah. No, I mean loose aggressive. Poker is a game of, I mean, I can say that I'm loose aggressive, but if I'm sitting at a table with a bunch of loose aggressive players, I'm going to tighten up.
Mhm.
If I'm playing at a table with a bunch of tight players, I'm going to play a little bit more loose and aggressive. I mean, we all know that that's kind of how the game goes,
How do you prepare for a tournament? Do you do anything specific to get ready at all?
No. Back in the day when I first started, I used to watch Rounders before
Oh,
I went out to play poker. I've kind of gotten away from that now, but But I mean, again, we've been playing for 25 years. There's, you know, you go out and you just try to play. I tell you what, I played a really fun one on Friday at 701 had an all in or fold tournament.
Hmm.
That was a lot of fun.
How did that work? I don't know what that is.
You're either all in or you fold. There's no raising. There's nothing in between. Either you put all
Really?
your chips in the middle or you fold.
Do you see hands in something like that where everyone just folds to the big blind? Is that a pretty common thing?
That's pretty common. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Obviously, if you're big blind and you have a monster hand, you're in a great position. You know, unless everybody folds to you. There's a lot of times where I look down and I see king queen suited, and I'm on the button. Normally, that's a raise, right? But
Uh-huh.
if I have to put all my chips in, do I really want to risk it for 700 chips? Not really. So you fold that, and
Mm-hmm.
that's like I said, it was a fun tournament. So
Was the action pretty tight, like early levels then, just because the blinds are so small?
no,
Or oh,
no,
really?
no. That's where a lot of it is made. I got there and I was going there to deal for them. So I started dealing, and then Steve's like, "I thought you wanted to play." I said, "Yeah, but no one was here to deal." So then he moved a dealer in and let me play. Uh, very first hand, I was first to act, and it was a $60 buy-in with rebuys up to 5 of them for 300 total. I looked down, I had pocket 5, so I shipped it all in. I had 4 callers, and I was like, "Oh, well, fuck, I'm screwed." 5 ended up holding up. So I built a monster stack right away, and,
Wow.
yeah, then it made it real easy because the blind they didn't do a big blind ante, it was just small and big blind because it was a turbo 25-minute blind levels or so. So that made it a lot easier. I could then be patient and wait for the big hands, you know, look for spots where, I have ace nine, but the guy next to me, I'm the button. The other two have way less chips than I do, so you can apply a lot of pressure that way. And that's kind of fun. And if they call you, you're not out. So
Yeah.
like I said, it's fun playing that way, looking for those spots and pushing.
It seems it seems like that would play really well into kind of your style anyway. I always feel like when I'm at your table that I'm gonna get pressure applied to me from you multiple times while we're at the same table. So
Yeah.
I could see where that would be pretty
Yeah.
comfortable for you to figure out, okay, do they really want a chance going out right now, or are they gonna
Yep.
just let me get this through? So
Yep. Yeah. Later in that tournament, I there was a I had built up a stack. I was sitting at roughly 180, 190, and there was another guy at the table who was sitting with like 260, and he pushed, and I looked down at kings. So
hmm,
insta call, and he had ace nine, and my kings held. So that kind of just like that, I'm final table bound. I don't have to play another hand. I can just walk away. So I didn't,
yeah.
but I could have.
So now I know you play aces, and now you've confirmed you play kings, and I saw jacks earlier. So your
Yes,
range
yeah,
is a
yeah.
little
My
wider than you
range
talked about.
is it's still pretty tight though.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw me flip over 7 deuce for crying out loud.
Yeah, as a winner. I remember
Yep.
that one too. Have you done any like training or studying of poker, or how did you get your
um,
experience?
by playing,
Yeah.
like I said, my buddy invited me up to go play at Monoman, and then Northern Lights was at that point in time back then was the only place that had tournaments. So then we started going there on
Hmm.
Saturdays because it started at noon, I believe. They had a noon tournament at that point in time, and it was I think it was only like a $40 buy-in or $50 buy-in or something like that. We went there, the very first one. I ended up in fourth or fifth place for a little bit of money, and then yeah, that was it. I was like, let's keep going. I want to keep doing this. So
Yeah.
then you just learn through your bad beats, and you know, you're constantly learning in this game. Hopefully,
Do you have a circle of friends that you talk through hand histories with at all?
uh, no, they're more bad beat stories.
Okay.
Can you believe this? Why were you pushing with 6 deuce? I don't know. I just why was he
But you
calling
do
with 10-9?
But you are a critical thinker though about the game. Obviously, I can tell by the way you play that you think through spots
Yeah.
and try to recognize where you can take a little bit of edge at
Yeah. Try to
when the time is
apply
right.
max
And
pressure, you know.
yeah,
Like I
who's
said,
the
it's such a fun game. And it's never the same, it's always different.
what's the toughest player type for you to play against?
The well, I mean, playing against you is always never easy. It's always tough playing against you, Joel. But like, I don't know. Um, Probably the players that are tight, they're always because it's like, you'll have ace queen, ace king, and you'll be like, how do I fold this? But he hasn't played a hand in how long? All right, I call. I have aces. Of course you do. It just always seems to go that way.
Now you mentioned that you deal,
Yep.
and do you think there's some advantage to you being a dealer in these tournaments as far
Yeah.
as as far as
Well, I
trying
mean,
to understand player tendencies and
player
ma-
that yeah, you can pick up a lot on some players if you pay attention, which I get to do as a dealer, because I'm not worried about what I have. I just have to worry about what they have, and there you can pick up some tells on some players pretty easily, um, which is very beneficial if you ever get to play against them and in one of these things. So that helps.
what's a common mistake you see a lot of amateur players make that that you think they should really focus on avoiding? Is there something that you're seeing regularly?
Yeah, a lot of them overvalue that ace high, whether it's ace king, ace queen, ace jack. They a lot. I do it too. I know I do it. I recognize that I do it, yet I still do it. I can't get away. It's hard to get away from that, but it's regardless of what you think, ace king is still just ace high. You know, Be- Pocket deuces have you beat pre flop. you know, but I'm just saying that a lot of players overvalue that hand. They overvalue the ace, and that happens a lot.
So you've dealt quite a bit,
Yeah,
from
yeah.
what I've seen. Any crazy stories that you can think of that have happened while you've been dealing?
Um, uh, nothing, nothing too wild and crazy. I mean, I did deal out a hand where I had aces, kings, and queens on the same table, and I don't know how it happened, but kings folded. I can't remember if the aces pushed, if he must have been third to act, or out of the three, he must have been the last person to act. I don't know, but I don't remember exactly how it went. Whether it was he raised aces, jammed queens, re-jammed, and then he mucked. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's kind of crazy when you think about it. That you
Yeah.
could get away from kings, but two all ins in front of you, maybe.
You hear stories about people folding aces early in the like first hand in the tournament and stuff like that too. I don't think I have that in me.
I don't think I would either. There's no way. I don't think there's any way I would. Even if it
Yeah.
was, no, I couldn't do it. No,
Do you have any superstitions or lucky charms or anything like that?
I do not. I don't have nothing. You know, I have I have a few favorite hands that I like to play, but even that'll go to the wayside if there's a raise. So I like
What
that.
are those?
Yeah,
Wait
you
a
gonna
minute.
write this down?
I gotta grab my pen. No, it's gonna be out there for everybody. I don't need to
Yeah,
write it
yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I really like 6-7. I know the kids 6-7, but I enjoy that hand and 5-6. Those
Oh,
are,
really?
yeah, I like 5-6 suited and 6-7 suited. I like playing those.
I would imagine you've had some big wins off of them. That's why they became your favorite, or is there some other story
Well,
behind
yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah. I was playing. Where were we at? I think we were at running aces for a state tournament, and I got busted out or whatever, and I went and sat at the cash game, and I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I ended up getting all my chips in with 6-7 after I flopped a boat. I flopped the nuts, and I had 5 or 6 callers. It was a big pot, and I took it down. So that's kind of how it becomes your favorite.
Do you have any poker idols? Some players that you really look up to and try to learn from or
Wow.
try to.
Yeah, I mean, there's Daniel Negreanu. Of course, I watch 90% of his stuff he puts out now. I don't watch any of his like how to play videos or nothing like that, but I watch a lot of his like, especially when the World Series starts up, his video vlogs and stuff like that. Rampage Poker, I like watching him. Uh, Mariano is another one I enjoy watching. Uh, I like watching them on YouTube. They're fun. Um, I don't know. He posts a lot of wins, but then he also posts his losses too. So that's fun to watch him lose sometimes. Makes it
Mariano, is
make
that who you
yeah,
said it was?
yeah, Mariano. Yep.
I'm not
Yep.
familiar with him. Hmm,
Yeah, look him up on YouTube. He's fun to watch.
I'll have to do that.
Yeah, he's mainly a cash game player. He doesn't do much of the tournaments. So, but started watching him. He was when I first started watching his stuff. He was a 1-3 grinder,
Hmm,
and then he just kept building his chip stack or his bankroll and playing bigger and bigger ones. So,
I'll have to
yeah.
check him out. Do you enjoy cash more or tournaments more?
Personally, I like the tournaments, especially the freeze outs. Or even like the $100 or $300, you know, max, like what 701 at Dakota Poker Tour do.
Yeah,
You buy in for 150 and you can rebuy up to 300, or buy in for 100 up to 300. I like those. I don't, which is why I think I'll like the Gladiator too. It's 2 bullets per day, which is nice for the little guy, if you will.
and the prize at the top is pretty substantial.
Yeah. Yep.
It's in
Yeah.
six figures.
Yeah, good bang for your buck. But again, you're not going to have you're not going to have those pros that are going to sit down at this thing and throw 30, 40 bullets at it because they can't, which is nice. Like I said, that's nice for the little guy.
Yeah, I think my wife was telling me that she read somewhere that Daniel Negreanu might even play that one. I
Yeah,
don't know if he's
yeah,
trying to find the Player of the Year title again or something,
yeah,
but
probably. Who knows? But like I said, a $300 buy-in for him is, like us pulling a
mhm,
$5 bill out of our pocket. So
yeah.
it's like nothing, He can do that. He could probably potentially throw away $25,000 playing a $300 tournament and not have them
Yeah.
affect him in the least.
So now I'm envisioning you sitting on one side of him, me sitting on the other side of him on the $300 Gladiator, and he's in a Midwest sandwich.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and we'll have to
that,
show him what it's all about.
yeah, yep. As we give him our chips and walk away,
Yep, exactly. It would be pretty fun though.
it would be. It'd be a memorable experience.
We would need somebody to get some video of that experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how many bullets are you going to fire at this thing? How many days? Ones are you going to play?
Well, I think at least 3 we talked about.
Okay.
Um, and I don't know if I'll do multiple bullets in the same day or not. It kind of depends on how I went out, right? If I was
Yeah.
playing well and just had a cooler that, it
Yeah.
is what it is, I'll probably rebuy. If I'm making bad decisions and just flailing around, I'll probably go find something else to do.
That's pretty impressive. At least you know when you're doing that.
Well, I don't always, trust me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. A lot of players don't. They don't understand that they're playing poorly, and they just keep firing.
Yeah,
So
they
it's
can't
good that you can
wait to
recognize the difference.
I've seen that where people just can't wait to rebuy and,
Yeah,
again and again and again, and it's like a futile battle.
yeah. I mean, now I'm not going to say this is gospel truth, but I heard that an MSPT in Forest or at Running Aces that there was a player who fired 38 bullets at the $1,100 buy-in.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yep. He came in third place and just over broke even, made a little bit of money.
Wow.
So I mean, that's crazy,
Yeah, I don't like playing games that are like that.
Exactly.
You've got to have some confidence to fire that many times thinking you're going to, at the very least, break even.
Yeah. Yep.
Nikki and I were talking about somebody that was, continually rebuying, and they did it in a way which was probably pretty smart, but they did it in a way where they knew that they were going to be back to the same table because there weren't enough other people out where he or she got
Oh,
moved to another table.
okay.
And so they basically were just building a massive stack of chips on that table that they were hoping that they would get all back eventually. So they're taking, big risk
Yep.
knowing that, okay, if I hit one of these, I'm going to have the biggest stack on the table and be set up to go deep in the tournament. And
Exactly.
yeah, I hadn't really considered about that approach, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense if you're going to move to a different table because you just left everything that you
Yeah.
lost, but some different dynamics to think about when there's the rebuys. I'm
That's
always
right.
a fan of freeze outs or maybe one rebuy. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Especially like when we do home games. I like the one rebuy because we have people that travel together and
Yeah.
it can be a
Travel a
long
little
wait
ways and it. Yeah. Exactly.
if you get
Yeah. I
knocked
hate it
out
when
early.
Tom sits around and waits for me.
Yeah. You know he's going to hear that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone just starting out?
Just starting out.
Yeah.
Don't overvalue your ace highs. They're not always that good of a hand. That's a big one. And play within your means.
Did anybody tell you that when you started?
No, absolutely not. But it's okay. I never had a lot of money to begin with, so. And the only way you can get better is to practice by playing. You have to play.
Yes. Any shout outs you want to make to anybody?
Well, John Magnuson, come back and play, but he probably won't. I don't know. Maybe he'll watch it. I'd like to see him back at the table again.
Yep, that was always fun having him there. Hopefully,
Yeah, it was.
hopefully you can find the time to do it. All right, well, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you, Bill, for
Awesome.
taking the time to join us today at the final table
Yeah.
and sharing your poker stories.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It was fun.
Well, everyone, if you enjoyed this podcast, please take a moment to share, like, and subscribe so we can continue to share these interesting stories with poker fans all over the country. Until next time, be kind to others and live just a little bit lucky. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.